And good morning, everybody. Welcome, Hot Takes Goodman and Haertl. Haertl is out of the state. He is taking a little vacation from me. The other Fox 31 guy who I love doing shows with, Arn Anderson, wasn't available. So here is Myck Miller. How are you, my friend?
Now I know why Bruce is taking this vacation, but is he taking a vacation from you or is he taking a vacation from me since we're the two guys that Bruce actually works with?
I don't want to insult you, but I promise you it's me. Are you a big college football fan?
I am. I'm actually an Ohio State football fan. My family moved to Ohio, and my dad covered the team for 6 years, so big Buckeye fan.
So you have a big game on Saturday. There are 17 games today. 17 college football games today. The weather's a little chilly outside right now. I know it's August, but it feels like fall football today, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's great. And also, I got great news. I don't know if you have YouTube TV, if you cut the cord a couple years ago, but YouTube TV and Fox had a little dispute, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to watch Ohio State versus Texas in the comfort of my own home. Shout out to these billionaires who just keep getting richer and richer and richer and making us the consumer suffer. But yeah, I'm excited for all the college football that's on tap for this weekend.
Hey, I want to tell you about Roller Auction. They always have great auctions. Get what you want at the price you want at Roller Auction. They've been doing this thing for 45 years plus. The Larkspur Outlet and Home Improvement Store is having an auction for wood, fencing, decking, bathroom, kitchen, and laundry room accessories, plus light fixtures, contractor tools, and more. Online bidding has started at rollerauction.com. Don't forget, once again, this is on September 4th. And also, you can go to rollerauction.com to look up upcoming auctions. Get what you want at the price you want today. At Roller Auction, time now for the lead.
The lead is presented by Smokin' Dave's Barbecue. It is not just the best barbecue in town, it is one of the best restaurants in town. You can find Smokin' Dave's Barbecue off 36th and Pecos.
The Broncos have their practice squad set with 16 guys, including Sam Ehlinger, who reportedly had offers to be on a 53-man roster from a number of different teams. Ehlinger really likes the quarterback room. His head coach, Davis Webb, direction of the franchise. How surprised are you that any NFL player would rather be on a practice squad instead of a 53-man roster?
I'm actually not that surprised, especially after what Zach Wilson was able to sign for this offseason, a one-year, $10 million contract with $6 million guaranteed to be a backup quarterback after spending 1 year in Denver with the rehabilitation. I'm calling it the Payton rehabilitation program because it seems that Sean Payton has the ability to get the best out of quarterbacks. You look at what he was able to do with Teddy Bridgewater, with Jameis Winston, with Taysom Hill, a guy who honestly has no right to be considered a quarterback in the National Football League. But I think it's the Payton rehabilitation program. It doesn't surprise me that Sam probably turned down an opportunity to go join a putrid franchise who probably didn't have the stability at the quarterback position and getting teaching and learning at that position like Sean Payton offered. So it wasn't that much of a surprise. And if I'm Sam and I could stay in Denver and I have the number 3 quarterback job, which is basically is going to be the emergency quarterback job, and you could do it for 1 year and go get $10 million. I'm not saying he's going to go get what Zach Wilson did, but it just seems like the position to be in Denver was far better than anywhere else that he probably could have been going on the roster. Here's another thing. He played so well during training camp and preseason alongside Jarrett Stidham. And Eric, as you know, all 32 quarterbacks will remain healthy this year. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that a team could call for Sam Ehlinger or a team could call for Jarrett Stidham and he could be elevated to be Bo Nix's backup. So I think that Sam chose the best scenario possible for himself. And when you look at the structure of the Denver Broncos, especially when it comes to quarterback development, it doesn't really surprise me that he decided to stay with the Denver Broncos.
I agree with everything that you said, but dude had a chance to be on the field for every game dressed. He had a chance to be one play away from being on the field. Chances are that's not going to happen this year. So you can also make the argument, why wouldn't this guy want to compete? Meaning he would have dressed every game. He probably would have been the number 2. He's on the 53-man roster. Why wouldn't he do that? You can make the case. But I agree with you. The Zach Wilson rehabilitation project, that rings it should ring with everybody. Look what happened to him, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, he's still on the practice squad. He'll dress maybe 3 games because I think that's what Payton probably promised him. He did the same thing essentially with Chase Daniel when he was with New Orleans. But if it was you, what would you do? Would you want to sit in and be the practice squad guy, or do you want to have a chance to play?
I mean, practice squad guy, that's a pretty good job to get paid quite a good amount of money to do just about nothing.
No, you don't. Hold on. No, you don't. As a practice squad player, as a veteran, you make $300,000 per game, roughly. That's it. Now, for you and me, that would be a year's salary, right? But if you're on somebody's practice squad, you are going to make probably close to $1 million.
Yeah, but I'm also looking at it from the standpoint of, you make $300,000 this year, but what are you going to make next year? What was Sam Ehlinger?
No, 300,000. Yeah, go ahead.
What was he doing before he came to the Denver Broncos? He probably, and he along with his agent and probably people close to him, and probably the story you shared about Chase Daniel probably happened with Sean Payton too. Probably Sean sat down with him and was like, okay, you can go make yada, yada, yada this year, but you're going to be in the exact same scenario next year, and you have no idea where you're going to be. Whereas this year, let me work with you. Let me help you. Let me develop you. I promise I'm going to go get you paid. He said the same thing about Zach Wilson last year. He's like, my job is to get these guys paid. My job is to get these guys in the best case scenario. So if I'm Sam Ehlinger, I could go play for a team and be a backup and be one play away from going in the game. But am I one play away from going into a game that is going to ruin the rest of my career? Or could I stay in Denver, be patient, take a little bit of a pay cut, but then set myself up for what Chase Daniel and what these historically 15 to 16-year backup quarterbacks would do? I personally would take one step back to take a big leap forward if I were him.
Well, that's good forward thinking. That's thinking long-term as opposed to short-term. And this really says, I think, a lot about the Broncos culture, the direction that they are going. Davis Webb is an up-and-coming coach in this league. Apparently, from everything that I've read and people I've talked to, that quarterback room is really, really tight. I mean, they spend time together, essentially off the field as well. Let's look at the practice squad, specifically 3 inside linebackers. I mean, that is sending off to me fire alarm bells that they're not totally sure that Dre Greenlaw is going to be healthy this year. Maybe let's see what happens with Alex Singleton, who missed pretty much all of last year. Then you have Drew Sanders, who is battling an injury. Do you read that the same way that I do?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about
3
it yesterday.
guys.
I was shocked Lavelle Bailey didn't make the final 53-man roster. Luckily, he cleared waivers and was signed to the practice squad. I've never had a groin injury. I don't know what that entails, or a quad injury or whatever Dre Greenlaw was dealing with, but anything that has to happen with your legs and you put that much stress in a game like football, it's probably not a good sign. And like you said, Alex Singleton, one of the toughest sons of guns I've ever met in my entire life. The fact that he played an entire football game with a torn ACL, I'm pretty sure that didn't do him any favors, even though he was able to have surgery and has been rehabilitated from that. Yeah, it's a little concerning that both of your inside linebackers are dealing with injuries or coming back from injuries, and the guy that you drafted a couple years ago is still dealing with injuries and seems injury prone. It is a little bit concerning, but that's why you go get a bunch of these guys on your practice squad should there be a worst case scenario. But like Eric, as much as I like Lavelle Bailey and these guys on the practice squad, the reason they're on the practice squad is because they weren't good enough to make a final 53. So you're praying and you're hoping that your main guys stay healthy, because that might be a scenario where if you're calling up a guy to fill a starter spot, it's not because it was plan A.
Right. Well, I think all of us during mini camps and OTAs and obviously training camp, all of us were saying, man, this team is deep. There are going to be guys who are taken when they are cut by other teams. So Damari Mathis, Xavier Truss, they were put on 53-man rosters. Sam Ehlinger could have been on a 53-man roster. So even though he doesn't officially count in that total, to me, it's still other teams wanted 3 guys from the Broncos roster on their 53. All right. Then let's put this into perspective. Broncos had 1 guy claimed off waivers over the last 2 years combined. Also, Eagles signed Audric Estime to their practice squad. So what does this say about the direction of this franchise where Payton and Payton have built up, at least over the last 2 years, that essentially 3 guys from their roster today could have been and will be on a 53, considering this roster has been a mess for years.
I actually think it says more about Greg Penner than it does George Payton and Sean Payton because, Eric, as you know, NFL owners can really screw some things up. Just look at Cincinnati. Just look at Dallas. Look at what Washington was before they got Dan Snyder up out of there. As good as a head coach as Sean Payton is and as good as a general manager as George Payton is developing into, if you don't have an owner that lets you do your job and also gives you the strength and ability and the confidence to go out and do your job, it's probably not going to work. And so the fact that Greg Penner is pouring money into this franchise where a Sean Payton knows, oh, if I want to go get XYZ player, we can afford to go get XYZ player. And the fact that George Payton can whiff on a Nathaniel Hackett and a Russell Wilson and not get fired and have the confidence that he can take risks, that he can do certain things, and Greg Penner is not going to overreact and get him up out of town. It just allows people to be their best version of themselves. Eric, I know as you had many years working in television and now digital media, when you have somebody that believes in you and you have bosses that work for you and want to see you succeed, it just brings out the best side of you. So Greg Penner has allowed Sean Payton to be the best coach that he can be. It's one of the reasons that he talks so great about the late, great Mr. Benson in New Orleans, because that owner allowed Sean Payton to be Sean Payton. And now that George Payton has a structure around him, as opposed to what was in place before the Penners bought the Broncos, it just allows everybody in that building to be their best selves. So there isn't a scenario where Trey Hendrickson's contract negotiation is bleeding into training camp and he's doing interviews with media members and being a distraction. It's not Jerry Jones going on Stephen A. Smith's 18,000 different shows and talking about Micah Parsons and his agent. Everything gets handled in-house. I love the culture and the direction that is being set because everybody feels that they can be their best version, and it starts with Greg Penner giving everybody in that building that confidence.
I agree that Greg Penner lets guys do their jobs, but Greg Penner is not part of the decision on Damari Mathis getting cut. He is not part of the decision on Audric Estime being cut. I hear what you're saying. It's a 500-foot view that Penner lets everybody do their jobs, but I wouldn't give him credit for this roster building. He hired guys to do their jobs. He doesn't get involved. Does that make sense? I'm trying to separate the two a little bit. Yes, it's really important to have a great owner, but I'm not going to give Greg Penner that much credit on the roster building. However, I will look at what the Broncos have done pre-Greg Penner, pre-Sean Payton. So in 2023, they had 4 guys on their roster go to other teams' practice squads. When Sean got here, 4 guys. Last year, it was 7. So 11 guys, according to ChatGPT, by the way. That is the source of sources. The Broncos have had 11 guys go to other teams' practice squads over the last 2 years, not including this year. The previous 3 years, they had 2 guys. A total of 2 guys on their own roster go to other teams' practice squads. So when I look at that specifically, that says to me they are trending in the right direction where they are getting better players in, and other teams recognize that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's also, if you want to look at it on a closer perspective, I think it's Sean Payton. Just look at the player development, look at the roster building that's going on in New Orleans right now. It's putrid. It's terrible. Mickey Loomis is still the general manager in New Orleans. So the general manager hasn't changed since Sean Payton left New Orleans. What ended up changing is coach came here to Denver, and he knows exactly what he wants. He knows exactly the type of players that it takes to have success in the National Football League. And unlike a lot of the young coaches that are still trying to figure out how roster building works and exactly their team identity, Sean Payton knows exactly who he is. Sean Payton knows exactly what type of team he wants, what kind of roster has success in the National Football League. And I think that there's a reputation that players that play for Sean Payton are
Yep.
going to have success in the National Football League. I love this guy. I think he's a really, really great guy. He's one of my favorite guys to cover.
Yep.
But look what happened to Justin Simmons when Sean Payton decided to let him up out of the building.
Right.
Last year, he only signed with the Atlanta Falcons at the 11th hour. And as it stands at 7:36, August 28th, Justin Simmons does not have a team that he's playing for. And as great as he was in Denver, there was a reason that he got let go by Sean Payton. I don't know the reason. I'm an outsider. I'm not an insider.
Right.
But there is a reason that Sean Payton let him go. And I think that there's a reason that Justin Simmons isn't signed to a team right now. Sean Payton just has a reputation. It's probably like a Bill Belichick. If Bill Belichick lets a guy go, there's probably a reason why he let him go. So I think that Sean Payton just has an ability to know exactly what he wants. And him working in conjunction with George Payton, it just seems to be the perfect marriage, because it doesn't seem like George is one of those general managers who has such a big ego that he has to get 100% of the credit. If people like me, dum-dums on the outside, are looking and saying the roster is good as it is because of Sean Payton, George Payton's not going to get all in a hustle of being like, no, I'm the guy. It just seems like it's the perfect marriage between these two guys. But I just look at Sean Payton in particular just because of what he was able to do in New Orleans and what he's done in his short amount of time at Denver.
I understand that Sean is going to get a lot of the credit for this, because look where the team has gone because of what Sean Payton has done, helping with the draft and free agency and on the field. They drafted Bo Nix and all of that. I use someone who, here, I'm going to try and throw an analogy here. So when you buy, do you like peanut butter?
No, not really.
Okay. So I am a firm believer there are certain things out there when you go to the grocery store, you should not go cheap on it. Go with the real product. I would never go with, when I go to the store, I'm willing to spend more on Skippy peanut butter than Kroger peanut butter. I'm willing to spend a little bit more on Heinz ketchup than Kroger ketchup. There are certain things out there where you spend a little bit of extra money because it is worth it. The reason why I'm bringing this up is I think that Sean Payton and George Payton are the perfect marriage of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Skippy peanut butter, that's George. And then you have Sean Payton, and he is a really high-end brand of jelly. What do I mean by that? It's not as if when you look at the generic peanut butter, and this is a long explanation here, it's not as if George Payton didn't know how to draft before he got here. Everybody wants to give Sean all the credit. But let's look back at some of the drafts that George did without Sean, right? He drafted Patrick Surtain and Quinn Miners and Jonathan Cooper. That was a pretty good 2021 draft. Wouldn't you agree?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
He drafted Nick Benito in the second round. That guy is one of the best pass rushers in the league. So it's not as if he doesn't know what he's doing. Then bring in Sean and the way he wants to look at things and the way he wants to build a team, and they complement each other very well. The peanut butter and jelly thing. But it's not as if Sean has made George look good. George was pretty good all by himself, minus, obviously, hiring Hackett, which was a big swing and a miss. It was clearly a mistake, although at the time, I even think you would agree, bringing Russell Wilson was the right move, right?
Yeah.
Back in the day. Signing Randy Gregory to a big deal, that was a huge mistake. George made some big mistakes, but in the draft, he was still pretty good, and now the drafts have gotten better because they have combined forces.
Yeah. Yeah, I like George Payton. I think he's a really good general manager. The only thing is, I think George Payton just needs, and this just goes back to do you need somebody? Yes, everybody needs somebody. Like Joe Burrow can go have a lot of success, quote unquote, without a defense, but he's not going to make it to the postseason.
Right.
Not everybody can do it by themselves. And George Payton just needed structure, which totally makes sense. Have you worked in a dysfunctional situation before? You're probably not going to have as much success unless you, as opposed to if you had structure. So yeah, I agree. He was a great drafter, but with the big moves, he just kind of needed a little bit of consulting, and that's where a Sean Payton comes into play.
Coming up after the break, with the Broncos roster look like it looks right now, if Bo Nix wasn't under a rookie contract, And once we answer that question, we are going to dig into this. Are the Broncos in their window right now to win a Super Bowl? Do they need to be in a window right now to win a Super Bowl? The history suggests they are in that window and they need to win now. That's next. Everyone has their favorite sports bar. Mine, the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch in the DTC. Both locations are everything a sports bar should be. An upscale menu with 12 different burgers, outstanding wings, and my favorite, the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. They've got every game on the NFL Sunday Ticket, MLB Extra Innings, NHL Center Ice, NBA League Pass, plus soccer, rugby, and UFC. Sportsbook is a hangout bar or great for private parties. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, the DTC, and coming soon to Parker. They are the sports bar.
Ferguson's Heating and Cooling is the best in Denver, and their customers agree. Ferguson's has 165 5-star Google reviews, and here's one from Betsy. Highly professional, prompt, and honest. I switched to Ferguson's when I became aware my former company was trying to sell me a whole new system I didn't need. Ferguson's is an honest, working, family-owned business that'll give you a fair price, the highest quality parts and equipment, and they always show up on time. You can trust the Ferguson family like you trust your own family. Go to fergusonsheatingandcooling.com.
Everyone has their favorite barbecue spot. Mine, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. My favorites, slowly smoked ribs, smoked corned beef Reuben, smoked meatloaf with a portobello balsamic cream sauce. Don't forget about Smokin' Dave's 16-hour smoked brisket and pork with one of their 4 homemade barbecue sauces. Great sides, you bet. Barbecue beans made with pork and brisket and their southern corned bake. Man, you got to try it. Plus, they have amazing non-barbecue entrees on the menu. Go where I go, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew in North Denver.
Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos in Blackhawk have another incredible promotion. They'll be giving away a Ford Maverick Tremor truck or over $25,000 in cash the weekend of October 24th. Daily cash drawings are every 45 minutes between 10 a.m. and midnight. Players can earn daily entries with every locked-up jackpot or by redeeming players' points on their players' cards. Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos, loose slots, phenomenal promotions, great food, and a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
Spice up your next night out at Nola Jane and Lodo. Authentic Cajun cuisine like andouille sausage gumbo with dirty rice, crawfish etouffee, as well as 6 different po' boys like soft-shell crab and shrimp. Come in before or after a game at Ball Arena. Host a party or party on their rooftop deck overlooking Market Street during happy hour from 11 a.m. to 5. Plus, Nola Jane caters, delivers, and the kitchen is open late night. Make Nola Jane your new favorite spot to eat, drink, and party like it's Mardi Gras.
Ever wondered where city and county fleet vehicles go when they retire? Now's your chance to find out and score big. Imagine driving away with a great deal on a reliable vehicle. For over 45 years, Roller Auction has been the trusted source for government fleet vehicles and equipment. Trucks, SUVs, sedans, and more, all selling to the highest bidder. Don't miss out. Visit roller.bid/hot takes to get auction updates today. Your next vehicle could be just a click away.
And welcome back. Hot Takes, Goodman and Haertl. Myck Miller from Fox 31 joining us this morning. I don't know what you're doing for Labor Day, Myck. I don't know if you're going to have a big barbecue and throw your favorite carcass on the grill. But if you don't want to do that, I would highly recommend going to Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. It is the best barbecue spot in town. Everybody has their favorite barbecue spot. I get it. But with the way that Dave has put together his menu, it is what you would see in theory on other menus in terms of ribs and brisket and pulled pork and stuff. But what he does is he creates an experience on a plate. Let me give you a really good example. This is called the Heart Attack. 2 jalapeno cheddar biscuits topped with bacon, pulled pork, shredded cheese over 2 over easy eggs, and house-made sausage gravy. Is it fair to say, Nick, you really don't see that on the menu at most barbecue places? It's ribs and all the other stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a creation, and almost everything on that menu is a creation. Now, with Labor Day coming up, if you don't want to grill out, order in. Get takeout from Smokin' Dave's and let them do all of the work for you. Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. You can find them off of 36th and Pecos. Time now for What's Trending.
What's Trending is presented by Ferguson's Heating and Cooling. Your family should trust the Ferguson family for all your heating and cooling needs, and you'll see why they have over 165 5-star Google reviews. Make an appointment today at fergusonsheatingandcooling.com.
Is it fair to say the roster would not look the way it does if Bo Nix wasn't under a rookie contract?
Yeah, because you're still paying Russell Wilson, unfortunately.
And that makes it even more amazing, right? With the way they've been able to build the roster. But when you're under a rookie contract with a player you believe is your franchise quarterback, you can bring in a lot of talent. Let's look at the San Francisco 49ers. A lot of talent with Brock Purdy, right? And now that Brock Purdy has a contract, Deebo Samuel is no longer there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. With that, kind of stumbled onto this, and I'm curious to know your thoughts. When you look at the last 13 Super Bowls, Myck, 11 of them have featured quarterbacks on the rookie contract or on a contract that was extended, but hadn't kicked in yet when they played in the Super Bowl. So 11 quarterbacks over the last 13 Super Bowls had a guy on the rookie contract. You can actually argue that it is 12 because when the Eagles beat the Patriots with Nick Foles, who was signed for like $1.6 million, Carson Wentz was on his rookie deal. So can you make the case now when you look at this? The Broncos window is not only open, but it's open whether they like it or not, because history suggests to get to the Super Bowl, unless you have a generational quarterback, generally speaking, Manning, Brady, or Mahomes, and that's over the last 13 years. This is your time.
Yeah, because like you said, not like look at Joe Burrow, for example. Joe Burrow is probably top 3 quarterback in the NFL and didn't even see the playoffs last year because he got extended. At the time that he signed his extension, it was the richest contract in NFL history,
Right.
and you can't build out the roster. So if you're going to pay Joe Burrow however much percentage of your salary cap, that means that your linebacking core is going to suffer, your safeties are going to suffer, your corners are going to suffer.
Right.
So for the Denver Broncos, this is a reason why I think a lot of people think, okay, they were ahead of schedule last season.
Right.
This year, the expectation should be to win a playoff game. And next year, when you get off the Russell Wilson contract and you're still on a Bo Nix rookie contract, man, next year you better put a roster together that can win a Super Bowl, because at some point you're going to have to pay Bo Nix. And I don't know if he develops into a quarterback where when he signs his deal will be the richest in NFL history, or if you can get him to sign a little bit lower. Or I don't know if Bo Nix has the mentality of a Tom Brady, because the reason that Tom Brady was able to get to Super Bowl after Super Bowl, aside from his talent and playing for one of the greatest coaches of all time, he was also married to somebody that made a lot more money than him, so he could take pay cuts because he knew the value in paying other guys and putting a roster around him. So, yeah, the Denver Broncos are firmly in a championship window, and they better capitalize while they're not paying Bo Nix, because I can guarantee you, if Sean Payton and George Payton think of Bo Nix the way that I think they think of him, they're going to pay him like a franchise quarterback. And as the salary cap continues to climb, it's going to cost you around $50, maybe $60 million annually to pay one guy. And all that money that you're saving right now by not paying Bo, that money's going to evaporate real quick.
I am not so sure that I'm going to give Tom Brady's former wife credit for Tom Brady saying, you know what, I'll take less. He was still making a lot of money, but he always felt, I don't have to be the highest paid guy. I want to build a team around me. He may not be, he's considered the greatest quarterback of all time, Myck, because he's won 7 Super Bowls. And I don't know if he's the greatest quarterback of all time, but I do know he's the smartest and least greedy quarterback of all time, because he valued roster building over the type of money that he made. How many quarterbacks do that? Almost none. Everybody wants to be the top paid guy. I think Brady realized my legacy is not about numbers, like Dan Marino back in the day, who put up huge numbers in an era where we're not looking at all of the rules changes and things like that, where quarterbacks in the 1980s, when you look at their, completion percentage, it's usually about 55%. Because the rules hadn't changed. Dan Marino was off the charts when he played, when you look at those numbers. I don't even know where the hell I'm going with this. But the point is, you ever have one of those shows where you're like you're in a fog, even though you shouldn't be in a fog, and you're like you're trying to say something, and it's just not coming out right. You want to rescue me here?
Yeah, it happens to me every night. Don't worry about it. Whenever I'm in the show, I'm just rambling, and then
Right.
my producer's like, "Toss the break," and I'm like, "Toss the break? I don't even know what I'm talking about right now."
Right. So anyway, Brady won those Super Bowls. I think it was a conscious decision. Winning Super Bowls was more important than money. Winning Super Bowls is more important than stats. So I think that's why Tom Brady is the greatest, because he understood the value of building around him in order to win all of those titles. Outside of Mahomes and Hurts, by the way, Purdy, Burrow, Goff, Cam Newton, and Kaepernick, who all went to the Super Bowl, they haven't been back. Because once they went on, with the exception of Kaepernick, once they got their money, they never went back because they couldn't build the team around him. So now when you look at Bo Nix, I'm wondering what kind of contract he's going to take. Is he going to go the Brady route, or is he going to go, I want to be the highest paid guy?
Probably this first contract, he's probably going to go to the highest paid guy, which is understandable. If you're a rookie, you're making rookie money. The whole point of getting through that rookie contract is so that you can cash in on a big contract. Now, I would do it, and I would have no problem if Bo Nix did it. But if he's 32, for example, hasn't sniffed the Super Bowl, and he's still chasing elite money when he's got high nine figures already in his bank account, that's when I would look at him and be like, dude, you probably need to sign a team-friendly deal so they can go get you some help, as opposed to being like year in and year out, I have to be the highest paying guy. Unless that's your priority. If your priority is to make as much money as possible, then go do you. But if your priority is to win Super Bowls, which at a position that is so highly looked at as quarterback, then you need to cash in on the ability to win a Super Bowl. And if you're going to do that, that means having complementary pieces around you, because unlike a Michael Jordan or a Kobe Bryant or any NBA superstar that you're a fan of, quarterback can only play one position. Right. And so you need to have guys that have your back, because you can't just go grab the ball on defense and then go on offense and score.
I think that when Patrick Mahomes signed his deal, and I know it's a big, big number, you can make the case it was very much a team-friendly deal. Is that fair to say?
Oh, absolutely. The way the cap has gone up, and like if you look, I can't remember. I'd have to find the graphic, but there was a graphic that came out, I think maybe last year, top 10 highest paid quarterbacks, and Mahomes isn't on the list.
And Mahomes is doing what Brady did. And that's why the Chiefs are not only still relevant, but they are always a Super Bowl contender, because Mahomes did not have to be the highest paid guy. Brady didn't have to be the highest paid guy. I don't think that's an accident at all. Do you?
No, absolutely not.
So moving forward with this, do you look at the Broncos this year? And I'm going to go to your sport, which is basketball. Not to say that you don't know all sports, but you're a big hoop guy, right? Mm-hmm. Do you look at the Broncos as Oklahoma City the year before they won the title? Meaning they were taking gradual steps, meaning they were a year ahead.
No, because I thought the Oklahoma City Thunder were frauds. If you dig up some old
takes by me,
I thought they were frauds. Like, luckily I don't have any tweets that said it, but the Cold Takes Exposed Twitter, if they actually watch CSN, there'd be a clip of me all year being like, Thunder are frauds, they're not winning a championship. But I think that if you didn't have that take that I had, yeah, it's a scenario where you have a young, talented roster that was really homegrown and built the right way. And so you're saying last year's OKC Thunder team is this year's Broncos team?
No, what I'm saying is that if the Broncos win a playoff game or two, there's still whatever happens this year is gravy. It's next year when they're off the Russell Wilson deal, and then they can bring in more talent with money. What's that?
Yeah, no, I don't agree with that, because they were ahead of schedule last year. If they were like 9-8 and had just missed the playoffs, then this year I'd have been like, okay, you make the playoffs, it's just gravy. But the problem is, with great expectations, you got to build on that. So last year, you go 10-7 with the rookie quarterback taking on the largest dead cap in NFL history. You still go 10-7 and make the playoffs and lose to a Buffalo Bills team that was far superior than you. Well, this year, guess what? You got to go either back as a wild card team or you have to win your division. And it's not enough just to get there, because now Broncos fans have been salivating for a decade for a team that could go to the playoffs. Now that you're back in the playoffs, and now that Sean Payton's talking about this team as the seventh team in his coaching career that he felt had a championship roster and championship expectations, no, it's not enough to simply just go to the playoffs. I think at minimum, at a floor, you have to win a playoff game. The best case scenario is you go in as a wild card and you go to Houston. I would take the Broncos beating Houston, say Houston wins their division, or you win your division, you have to win a home playoff game. It's not enough just to make, like, if you just make it to the playoffs and you get beat in the first round again, to me, that's a step back just because of what you did this offseason, signing all the guys that you signed, Bo Nix year 2. I think that the expectations are that you have to make some noise in the playoffs. You just can't simply get there.
Well, I agree with you on the surface, but it depends on what that first round matchup is. What if you have to go to Baltimore? I mean, are the Broncos failures if they go to Baltimore and lose? If they go to Buffalo?
Ask Baltimore fans how they feel about their playoffs the last.
Oh, no. I totally get that. But when people say they need to win a couple of playoff games to meet my expectations, or they need to at least win one to show that, they're taking a step in the right direction, it all depends on the matchup. It all depends on the matchup. So I'm not willing to say right now, hey, my expectation is they win a playoff game or two. I don't know who they're playing yet. I think people discount that. That people look at the Broncos and say they have to win at least a playoff game this year. Yeah, if they go to Houston, or if Houston comes to Denver as an example, and I'm just picking a team that has a chance to go to the playoffs, it just depends on your matchup. You could get a bad draw.
What teams would you give the Broncos a pass in a matchup in the playoffs? Should they meet first round?
First round, Baltimore, the Bills, and the Chiefs. How's that? The three favorites.
Well, they've proven that they can beat the Chiefs. I wouldn't give them a pass, and I don't think Broncos country would give them a pass if they lost to Kansas City in the playoffs.
If they went to Kansas City in the opening round and lost, I'm not saying you give them a pass, but wouldn't you say it wasn't the easiest matchup?
I just think for division matchups, I just think that you should always expect your team to win, lose, or draw, or at home, neutral site, whatever. And I get what you're saying from an analytical standpoint, but from a fan base standpoint, I don't think that there's anybody in Broncos country that's going into the season thinking that way.
No,
I think that they're thinking their team should definitely beat whoever they meet in the playoffs, regardless of what the matchup looks like.
Fan, as we know, is short for a fanatic, right? Uh-huh. I don't listen to the fans because the fans don't think pragmatically. They think
I would say
they think emotionally.
The exact same way as well. Like Sean Payton, I don't think cares about the matchup either. I think he very much is saying whoever we see, whoever we play, we should beat.
No, I agree. They feel that way, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen. If they're playing any other team in the opening round outside those three teams, then I'm with you. Now, I don't know how the season is going to play out, but those three teams are the favorites to advance out of the AFC. And if they have to go on the road for an opening round game, I'm not giving them a pass necessarily. I'm just saying they got an unfortunate draw.
Okay.
But we don't know who they're going to play.
Yeah.
And if you win your division, at least you guarantee yourself a home game. If they lose a game at home to whoever in the opening round, then it's a disappointment. But what if a couple of things don't go their way and they go on the road to play a team that it's, Baltimore, Kansas City, or Buffalo? We saw what happened in Buffalo. You just want to avoid them in the first round because eventually you're going to have to play probably two of those teams that are going to be in your way, right?
Sometimes I just wish that the Nuggets were on the East, were in the Eastern Conference and the Broncos were in the NFC.
Sometimes I wish the Rockies weren't in the NL West, but at the end of the day,
sometimes I wish the Rockies weren't in the MLB. To be quite honest, I think I'd feel better if the Rockies were playing Double-A baseball.
Here, I'll give you a good example. Is it fair to say the Avs were one of the best teams in the NHL going into the playoffs last year?
They just so happened to play in the Central and had to play the Dallas Stars in the first round.
So everybody is disappointed. All Avs fans are disappointed. Jared Bednar should be fired. What the hell is going on there? Look at who they played in the opening round. That's what I mean by it was an unfortunate draw. And the NHL, of course, sets it up that way. So when I mentioned the Stars and the Avs, what if that's the case in the opening round for the Broncos?
Well, here's hoping that there's not a Mikko Rantanen level player that's going to go out there and rip your heart out and score a game-winning touchdown in overtime.
Well said. That's going to do it for us. Hot Takes Goodman and Haertl. Myck, thanks so much. Have a great day.
Appreciate it, Eric.
Thanks.